Welcome to Small Town Tales, a podcast where we hear stories of the paranormal, haunting legends, and all things spirit. Join us as we explore the unknown. Now, here's your host, C.L. Thomas.
This is C.L. Thomas, and we're back for another episode of Small Town Tales podcast. In this episode, we are talking about the demon of Christmas, Krampus. When I was a kid, I was terrified of Santa Claus, I think like most kids. And I just find this topic so interesting for so many different reasons. Probably the biggest reason is because it is a demonic-like entity that pretty much haunts Christmas. This demon character may be somehow connected to Santa Claus, at least I think so. My guests today, Regina Armstrong and Victoria Vancek, founders of Haunted History BC, join me, and they are going to tell us all about the history and where this figure came from.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello, everybody out there. Are we all getting festive?
I hope so.
Well, today's we had a little fun title for our little podcast today, too. We said, a few festive monsters, one glass of schnapps, and a happy new year.
Yeah.
So the schnapps will make sense a little bit later. So it's great to be back again, and just in time so we can get you in the holiday spirit. So hopefully everybody out there is getting ready, and maybe each of us can share a bit of what we like as far as the holidays. What's your favorite thing?
What's my favorite thing? Well, what's funny is I tend to watch a lot of scary movies around Christmas because I don't get time to do it around Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And I catch up on a lot of scary things versus Christmas things.
Now, did you ever see the Krampus movie? Because there was one.
I have.
Oh,
and
that is
I gotta
terrifying.
tell you, it's creepy.
Yeah.
It's really creepy.
That character. Whew.
There's a lot of similarities between that and Zach Bagans' Demon House. Have you seen that documentary?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
He's got that picture of that demonic goat-looking figure.
Yeah, that's
it looks
really
kind of
creepy.
like Krampus a little bit.
Yeah, anything with horns, goatees, it's disturbing. Yeah.
But I think most people don't realize just how much of Christmas is actually kind of scary stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, for sure. And a lot of people think that, spooky season is only for fall or around Halloween. But, for those of us who are into ghosts and creepy things, well, hey, lucky for us, winter and holiday time is a time to share those scary stories, too, about ghosts, creepy fairy tales, and yes, even a terrifying monster is in the mix.
And elves.
Elves, yeah. And so some people are familiar with, the things like the Ghost of Christmas Past or the stories. We see things like the Grinch and some other scary tales kind of surface around the holidays. So, in fact, especially in the UK, it's customary to tell ghost stories in the winter and at holiday time. Exactly. So that's when they kind of like to have their holiday creepy time. And so, this is kind of a nice tradition. I'm all for that one. So, and these are the kinds of traditions we like. So in the spirit of all things ghostly and terrifying, we would like to share with you the terrifying tale of some ghastly holiday characters.
Mm-hmm. I know. And the first one we'll tell you about is Krampus.
Oh, yes.
So when we talk about the origins of the terrifying Krampus, we have to start with the tale of Saint Nicholas. And this is where it all begins. Now, Saint Nicholas sets out, but he is not alone. He brings along a helper or two. So especially for myself and Gina personally, this has a great significance because our parents are Eastern European. So for us, we had a fun event, which we involved getting small presents and chocolates and treats before Christmas. And so December 5th, traditionally in many parts of Europe, is the eve of St. Nicholas Day. So kids would put out their boots, believe it or not, by their bed or at the end of the bed.
And we did that too.
Yeah,
I remember. We were always
did.
really excited, like, because it was the Christmas before Christmas, sort of.
I know, and we were so excited about that. So, and it's in the hopes of that St. Nicholas would kind of leave some sort of goodies for you.
Mm-hmm.
And the feast of St. Nicholas is celebrated in many parts of Europe on December 6th.
Yes. And so, this was always an exciting time for us. And we didn't really grow up with the idea of Santa or anything like that, but it's kind of similar. And, any sort of magical being coming around to leave you gifts is always exciting.
It is, I know.
And so it was St. Nicholas that we kind of, that's the part that we related to in the story of Krampus, because we didn't kind of know that those two were, related together. So,
well, who is St. Nicholas?
St. Nicholas, well, he was a bishop. So he started, back in Europe, and he was somebody that was just a figurehead for like all things good. So like if you were a good kid, you would get a visit from him, and he would sort of kind of come pre-Christmas to kind of check out how good or bad people were being. So, but yes, he was a good guy. So, and he looks very much like, Santa Claus like figures or similar. Right. Like if you say Father Christmas or Winter, like the white hair and the beard and everything. And he's just differently dressed. He's a little bit dressed in robes, and he's got a staff that he sometimes has that he kind of carries around. And
that's a little bit like in the UK as well. Yeah,
yes.
With Father Christmas.
Yes,
for sure. Yeah.
I think Santa Claus came about, if I'm not mistaken, by those Coca-Cola ads.
Yes.
The 50s.
And that was kind of a lot of the influence was the European St. Nicholas to kind of, because then it's, Nicholas and Santa Claus kind of, Saint Nick, and people still call him that. It sort of became universal, right? Sort of kind of blended together different traditions. But when we kind of were expecting any gifts or things that, we always kind of like strained to stay awake. We're like, okay, we're going to see him. We're going to see him. But of course you can, as a kid, you can never stay awake, and miraculously, like you wake up and there's presents. So
in your shoes and boots.
In your boots. So it was like things like, like fruit and chocolates and just like little trinkety stuff. So it wasn't like a huge, Christmas thing, but still very.
And you get money. We remember getting money that time too.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. I remember.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my most memorable, I think, was when we got a piggy bank. It was like a rabbit piggy bank that I really liked.
Mm-hmm. And then the chocolates, of course.
Chocolates were always good.
That's always a good
Chocolates were always good.
That's it, yeah.
So we have Santa. Santa most likely came off of, or is a stem of, St. Nicholas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, where did the idea of St. Nicholas come from exactly?
Well, I think it was just mostly Eastern European. So he was just a figure that was, some kind of celebrated. And the St. Nicholas Day was really focused on the kids. Like it was fun. Mm-hmm. It was sort of a fun day. Like people would dress up in costumes, and people would, kind of have this big feast. And it would kind of almost be like a winter solstice. It was borrowed like from the pagans.
A lot of
celebration. So it was a winter celebration. You'd like eat really good food, and it was, games, and people would even dress up like in masks and stuff too. A lot of times, like costumes were.
Yeah.
Kind of common. So
family gatherings.
Yeah. And I think even I remember in Victorian times, like I remember even in early times here, people would often like even Christmas Eve, you'd be going to a costume party a lot of times. So
right.
I think a lot of those types of traditions are kind of, swirling around out there that we've adopted or, so very, very interesting.
But even here in British Columbia, remember, it was in the 1800s and early 1900s. People used to do that as well.
Yeah.
Would get into costumes around that time.
Yeah. So it's not just for Halloween. So this is what we're saying. Like everybody just, get your spook on, because it's appropriate.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, this is the weekend actually before, so the 6th will be.
Exactly, it'll be on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any ideas of where the Christmas tree comes from?
Oh, the Christmas tree?
It's a German thing. And Krampus is German too.
He is.
It's a German tradition.
Yes,
even the name of it, Krampus,
is
very
creepy.
Creepy.
Mm-hmm.
So all right. I think the Christmas tree, from what somebody told me this, and I really don't know if it's true or not.
Mm-hmm.
That first of all, it comes from Yule, so it is a pagan holiday or a pagan tradition. They would go out, cut the tree down, and the log symbolized, the bringing back of light. They would put that log on the fire or the hearth And there's a whole tradition behind that too. So Christmas, I believe, actually came from Yoli, which is another agent. But the Christmas tree, somehow, instead of a log, they would put it up. But somebody told me that the ornaments used to be organs and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Have you ever heard of that?
No, I'm aware of like popcorn and cranberries, but I never heard of like it was like what, hearts and livers and that kind of organs? Or
Yes.
Oh my God.
I can't really remember all the.
Now that's pretty grim.
Yes, there's a story behind that.
And where would you get was that, maybe was it animal organ? Well, I'm hoping it was animal organs, not people organs.
Maybe grave robbing.
No, I'm kind of thinking, hold on, I'm going to try to.
Okay.
To look more into this morbid kind of Christmas. Wow.
Something to look
Oh,
forward
well,
to.
I had decorated my tree today, and there are no organs, just for the record.
And I'm here, and I checked it out.
Yeah,
I quality control.
there's a couple haunted dolls in the back, but that's about it.
Yeah, I can't find it, but I know there's a story. You guys out there, look it up.
Yeah.
It'll pop up somewhere, I promise you.
Oh, now I'm intrigued. I'm going to have to research. That's going to be like tonight's Google, and I'm going to go down the rabbit hole, and it'll be just a ring of nightmares.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It has something to do with taking down enemies, and I'm not exactly sure. Something about that. It was definitely pagan, though.
Yeah.
Before Christianity came along.
Okay.
And it had something to do with the Germans.
Okay, well, but it's interesting because, we're talking about this, but now this tradition began way back during pre-Christian times. So it wasn't necessarily religious and went back to about 11th century and started out in Germany.
Like you said, yeah, wow.
And and it's kind of even around the surrounding areas too. So then the earliest where you found like people like, I think, masked devil-like characters appeared. That was about, I think, the 16th century, too. So you have masked devils as well. So interesting.
Hey, fun stuff.
I know. So, and then the appearance of devils or the sort of creature was thought to have been borrowed from pagan times as a supernatural creature as well. So, and now, as with all good things, there is also the dark side. If you were a bad child throughout this year, St. Nicholas would have a helper. And you know that one, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So here's the fun part, and the happy tradition takes a terrifying turn.
Oh, yeah. So in the more watered down version.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, like they say, with all good things, there's always a dark side, right? So if you were kind of a bad kid throughout the year, so St. Nicholas would have a helper. And yes, so here's where the fun tradition takes a terrifying turn. So by the 17th century, the tradition evolved into St. Nicholas being accompanied by Krampus.
Dum, dum, dum.
So who is Krampus?
Well,
this is where we come up with our Christmas demon.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
So first off, let's set the stage, okay? So by describing Krampus, because we've seen him in various type of images too. So here's how he looks. So there are slight variations of him throughout the centuries, but basically, he's a very tall, horned monster, and the horns are described as long as goat horns. And he has brown or blackish fur, a long tail, long tongue, claws and fangs, and he has a goat-like beard, and his feet are hooves.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, so oftentimes he drags chains around and makes a huge ruckus when he comes around.
Oh, man. So he's coming.
There you go.
So not the sleigh bell, but the chains. That's not a good sign.
Exactly. But then there's a more watered down version too, right?
So yes, there is actually. So in a more watered down version, if you were bad or unruly as a child, Krampus carries a switch made of birch. So it's like a little stick, and he would whip you with it if you were naughty. And you think, that's bad. But so if this doesn't seem bad enough, it doesn't end there. It gets worse.
Uh-oh. How worse?
Is this where the body parts come in?
Well, no body parts. So in addition to him looking so horrific, because he was quite if anybody's seen the movie, kind of look at a few images of him. So he's traveling around with a whip. That's the scary version. But
that's already creepy.
Then in the scarier version, he also has this huge sack or basket with him. like a huge basket. And no, he's not carrying presents. There's no presents involved in there. The sack was to put bad children in.
Oh, yikes.
He would scoop them up, throw the bad kids in the basket, strap the basket to his back, and then he would cart the kids off for drowning.
He would drown them?
Yeah, so he'd kill you if you're bad. So can you imagine like telling that to your kids? Like, oh, Johnny, can't eat that cookie. Uh-oh, Krampus is going to get you.
Krampus is going to put you in a bag and drown you.
But if you think that's bad, it gets even worse.
Uh-oh.
If Krampus didn't throw you down into the water to drown you, then next he would keep you to eat you. And then the ultimate punishment, it gets even worse. So if he didn't drown you or eat you, so you got the whippings.
I thought that was the worst part.
You got the drowning. So you got the potential of you being eaten by him. But now he would take you to the depths of hell with him. So that is like the, worst case scenario. So you get to spend all eternity with this thing. So, So
it seems like the kid becomes the cookie or something.
Exactly.
Something like that. And
and says, oh, well, this one's just too tough or too fatty.
Exactly.
Just take him to hell with me.
I know. I don't know how he decides. I don't know if there's like a level of like badness that you have to be. Like, if you just like lied to your parents, that'd be bad. Or if you like stole something that I have no idea. There must be a Krampus guide out there or something that he has. So, that's is everybody starting to feel, warm and cozy now? The burning warmth of the holiday spirit is coming upon you. We're down in hell now, so it's a little toasty.
But you know what? Go ahead.
It's so different than Santa Claus because there's not just that straightforward, you've been naughty or nice.
Exactly.
There's different levels of naughty.
There really is. There really is.
So you're not just getting coal in your
not
socks,
just a simple coal. No, coal would be a good thing at this point. After I'm reading this, I'm like, okay, bring on the coal because it's not so bad.
I know. Coal or being eaten, which one would be better?
Yeah. So like we were saying, German tradition, all that. But now in Croatia.
Yes. There is also a slightly different version of the tradition. St. Nicholas bestows gifts upon you no matter if you are good or bad. But if you are good, you get gifts and a gold tree branch to remind you all year that you were good. But if you have been a bad child, Krampus comes around to steal the gifts for himself.
Oh, now he's stealing.
I
Yikes.
know. And he leaves you with a silver branch, which kind of sounds okay. I don't know. Just to remind you that you were naughty. But the white silver branch is still pretty good.
I know, but I guess you would have it all year round to kind of remind you that he could come around again. I don't know.
Yes.
So this is where
I guess if your sister had the gold one and you're stuck with the silver one, I don't know. That might be something.
I know, and you can't really trade because Krampus will know and he'll come get you for swapping them. So you can't fool him.
Yeah, he knows.
But there is a way to appease a Krampus. This is where the schnapps comes in. So it says that you could give a Krampus some holiday schnapps or fruit wines, and this will distract him. Maybe get him a little tipsy. Mm-hmm. So everyone, get yourselves to a liquor store. It's time now. We're warning you. We're plenty of time to go.
Oh, there might be a shortage.
Get some to the liquor store. Get that bar ready because he's around the corner.
Uh-oh.
Well, if he comes on the 5th, though, that's only in 2 days.
I know.
Oh, okay. The rest of you are screwed then. I'm sorry. If you're not already don't have any liquor in the cabinet, be prepared.
But after being largely a European holiday monster, Krampus did creep into North American culture too.
Mm.
Yeah, and in the 19th century, even greeting cards had images of Krampus. And the cards were showing Krampus stooped over children, or he was pictured with St. Nicholas side by side. So very festive indeed.
I know. People send these cards. I've looked up like the old Victorian cards, and they're really something like.
You were showing me them.
I know. And it's so funny because those were actually sent as Christmas cards. I'm like, oh, really? Sort of dark.
And they say Merry Christmas.
They do. And there's this like hideous creature with a little kid that looks terrified. I'm like, oh yeah, that really puts you in the mood.
Or the little girl, the little baby.
So cozy.
Yeah, there's a little girl there that was staring at this little Krampus. And
like a tiny, doll version of a Krampus because she got him, I guess, for
She didn't look too scared,
I don't know, though. Most kids I know are afraid of the big fat Santa in the malls.
They are. That is true. They start
That's so
crying.
scary,
They
though.
don't want to even come close to
They
them.
do. Yeah, it's always tough to get a picture when you're a really, really little kid. Everybody's just absolutely terrified, and maybe kids know
There's
best.
something.
They know. They know that.
Yeah, if you don't want to hear screaming kids, don't go to the mall right now. There's loads of them.
Yeah. Oh my God, I know, really, right? Oh my goodness. And then trying to get that perfect picture after they've like been crying for 15 minutes, you know. Oh my goodness.
Nose running, red eyes.
I know. No, that's not.
Poor kids.
Holy smokes. Yeah. So anyway, so earlier when we mentioned that St. Nicholas had a couple of helpers throughout history, well, yes. So there is yet another creepy helper, which makes an appearance for the first time in Pennsylvania when German families came to settle in North America around the 1800s. So his name is Belsnickel. There's a cool name. And the difference is that Belsnickel doesn't travel with St. Nicholas, but he travels alone and ahead of time. So he usually checks on children's behavior like a couple weeks before the holiday season sets in. So he's kind of the scout. So he goes out there. So
So maybe he goes around Halloween time or something.
I don't know. Yeah. So he's like about 2 weeks before 2 weeks before Christmas. So
But he's kind of like a man, right?
So Belsnickel.
Oh, yes. He's actually, I think he wears, furs. Is that it? Like when you were describing him that time, and that sometimes he does have a horrid mask with a long tongue, but he actually, so it was actually a mask. And this
is another demonic figure.
Exactly.
He is like he's usually like disheveled, ragged looking, like creepy, right? So
well, he is, and he also had torn, tattered clothing and dirty clothing too, and he carries a switch in his hand too.
So again, he's ready to whip you.
Oh yeah, beat the naughty children. That's it. But also a pocket full of cakes and candies and nuts for the good children.
Ah, so he's not all bad. He just looks terrifying and a little filthy. So
and the earliest writings of this character was in a collection of essays by Jacob Brown, who was born in 1824. And he wrote about his childhood memories starting around 1830. So he was recalling a time when he would have been probably about 6 years old. And so he writes, he says here, "We did not hear of Santa Claus. Instead, the tradition called for a visit by a different character altogether. And he was known as Christkinkle or Belsnickel, and sometimes as the Christmas woman."
Oh, that's weird. So why the Christmas woman? Oh.
And the children then not only saw the mysterious person, but they felt him, or rather his whips upon their backs with his switch. Yep, again, that whipping. So there you go. So the annual visitor would make his appearance some hours after dark, thoroughly disguised, especially the face, which would sometimes be covered with a hideous mask, and he generally wore a female garb to disguise himself, and hence the name Christmas Woman.
Oh, so he didn't want you to know it was him. He just kind of dressed up as some creepy old lady, even better.
Old lady.
So it's not a creepy, dirty
with cakes and candies.
Oh my God! So okay, the Christmas Woman. That's interesting. Yeah, I've never heard that before until we started researching.
I've never heard of that either. And I grew up in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so then we heard about that amongst the Pennsylvania Germans, Belsnickel is the character who visits homes prior to the holiday season, and he would show up at houses, like we said, 1 or 2 weeks before, and he often created a fright because he always knew exactly which children misbehaved. So there was no fooling this guy. He was ready for you. Like he knew if you were bad the whole year. You couldn't. I don't know if you can make up for it, but.
Well, hey, so you know what? If you weren't feeling in the holiday spirit after Christmas, after a good Krampus story, hopefully Belsnickel whipped you into shape, huh? So how about we've got a little bit more here, don't we?
We do.
So let's get into a little interesting festivity here. So if not, we'll attempt to get you all warm and terrified with a little holiday poem. And I think Gina worked very hard on this one. And this is actually our tribute to A Night Before Christmas, but a spooky style.
Yeah,
and she just whipped it off so quickly.
I did. I was like, I gotta come up with something funny. Well, I used to do corporate parties, and people always we had roasts where we would roast all the management, and I'd write this little poem that always was the night before Christmas, but it would kind of just poke fun at everybody. And so I guess I was a little like Krampus.
Oh, there you go.
if they had, to hear about it.
So what did you call your poem?
The Dead of Winter.
Dead of Winter. Okay, let's hear it.
So here we go. 'Twas in the dead of winter, and all through the house, all the creatures are stirring, and they're not a mouse. A ghost sits beside you in the bedroom at night. If you wake up and see him, he'll give you a fright. You think monsters and goblins are just silly lore. So what is that tapping on your closet door? You hear fingernails scraping all over the walls. Then you hear footsteps, and they're right down the hall. You calm yourself down and say it's only the cat, when suddenly you glimpse the man in a hat. A horrific shadow, he crawls out of sight. The terror so awful, you quickly turn on the light. You think you just heard some holiday bells. It's no smiling Santa. Here comes the clown from hell. You know that it's time for your nightly sleep, but they scamper and whisper, and into the bedroom they creep. The monsters were never just in your head. You're right all along. They're under your bed.
Oh, that
put you. Does that put you in the mood? Do you want to go to sleep now? I don't think so.
No.
Whip out the schnapps because you might be having a little time with Krampus.
Exactly.
Well, ladies, thank you for that. This has been very cozy for Christmas.
It has. It has.
Warm and terrifying all together.
You gotta keep the spookiness going. We gotta keep the momentum.
I just gotta say though, is there some kind of connection between some of these stories? You think, even with Charles Dickens, with his story, what is it? A Christmas Carol?
Yes, a Christmas Carol. Yeah, the three ghosts to Christmas past. So see, yeah, and a lot of the lore. There is, I guess, the big connection is that a lot of this folklore was like a cautionary tale, right? To teach you something or to make you aware of something. Like, of course, like Scrooge was this, grumpy old guy, and he got visited by the three ghosts who kind of showed him and enlightened him on, how to be a nice guy and what happens if you weren't, a nice guy, and how you could affect not only yourself and your own fate, but the fate of others, So
sure.
I guess that's the big thing, let's just be nice.
Exactly.
People, let's just kind of be nice, be happy.
So it's all about being the light and not of the darkness.
Exactly. Yes. Because I think when he wakes up, right, he wakes up. He doesn't just wake up from his dream, but he just wakes up as a human being, right? He's like, oh, hey, I'm just
spiritual enlightenment.
Yes, I'm just kind of happy to be here. I should be grateful for everything I have, and I should be kind to the people around me, and show my gratitude and kindness. And I think kind of that's the spirit of the season. So I hope everybody out there has a great holiday season. Whatever you celebrate, have a good one, and hope to see you in the new year.
Well, ladies, thank you for joining us on Small Town Tales podcast, and I really hope to hear from you guys soon, and I'm sure we'll have another special sometime this year in 2022.
Oh, yes. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye, everyone. Good night.
Bye.